Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
In my mind, memories of those passionate moments with Ethan kept flooding back. I felt conflicted, guilty yet aroused. The hot shower I took to clear my head only intensified yesterday's memories. I could still feel Ethan's ragged breathing, his strong touch, and the warmth he left on my skin. Everything felt as vivid as if it were happening all over again. The sensations wouldn't go away, no matter how much I wished them away. Despite my best efforts to fight the growing desire, I found myself powerless against it. Each drop of water cascading down my skin reminded me of his touch from the night before, and my hands began exploring of their own accord. Every time my fingers found those sensitive spots, the memories became more intense, and I couldn't hold back my soft moans. Even as guilt crashed over me, my body was already too far gone. Pressed against the shower wall, I reached my peak in a wave of intense pleasure, my legs trembling beneath me. Hi, I'm Emily, a 28-year-old stay-at-home mom. My husband Kenneth, 33, works at a mid-sized company. We fell head over heels in love and tied the knot 5 years ago. Now we're raising our little boy who just started kindergarten. Life's pretty normal for our family of three, but we're happy. We started our marriage in a sleek downtown condo, but recently made the move to a cozy house in the suburbs, thinking about what's best for our son's education and future. It's perfect here. There's a beautiful park nearby, and his kindergarten is just a short walk away. Still, I get lonely sometimes since I'm still the new face in the neighborhood. While Kenneth's caught up in the daily grind, leaving at dawn and coming home after dark, I'm managing things at home, juggling housework and motherhood while trying to find my footing in this new place. Our marriage is steady and peaceful, but I've got to admit, that spark we had as newlyweds seems to be fading, especially in the bedroom. Maybe it's because I'm still in my 20s, but I crave more passion and intimacy. Kenneth's always wiped out from work though, so those special moments are rare, maybe once or twice a month if we're lucky. Even then, he's so exhausted that it's hardly satisfying. Sometimes I try to spice things up, but Kenneth usually responds with, "I've got an early morning," or "I'm beat tonight." I tell myself, this is just how it goes when you have kids, but there's this emptiness I can't shake. There've been times when my desires got the better of me, and I'd sneak off to the bathroom for some private time after Kenneth dozed off. But that only left me feeling more hollow and alone, and deep down, I worried about the growing distance between us. Things started looking up when my son began kindergarten. I finally had a chance to meet other parents. Sure, I was nervous at first, wondering if I'd fit in and get along with the other moms. But I lucked out. The moms in my son's class were super welcoming. When someone asked, "Emily, want to join the PTA board?" I decided to go for it. Being new to the area, I figured it was a great way to make friends. Despite my early fumbles, I started connecting with the other moms while we planned events like field days and Halloween parties. I really hit it off with Rachel, Erica, Sharon, who were around my age or a bit older. Since our kids were in the same class, we always had plenty to chat about, and our post-event coffee runs became something I looked forward to. My involvement with the PTA naturally led to this tight-knit group, and before we knew it, we were doing family get-togethers. We started spending more time together, doing weekend barbecues and having picnics at the park. After-school events usually turned into family hangouts. Kenneth and I got closer to the other families through these gatherings. While the kids had a blast playing together, we adults would unwind at family restaurants or casual bars. Our circle grew especially close with about 5 families, and Kenneth, though usually pretty reserved, surprisingly came out of his shell and seemed to enjoy these family get-togethers. Then came this gathering after field day. All of us PDA members had put in the work to organize everything, with the dads pitching in to set up tents and handle the heavy lifting. After pulling off a successful event, we headed to a nearby sports bar to celebrate. The place was buzzing with over 15 of us in a private room, adults enjoying beers and cocktails while the kids sipped their sodas and juice. We had a blast reliving the day's highlights through photos while the kids chattered away happily. As our 2-hour reservation was winding down, someone piped up, "Man, I could keep going," and another chimed in, "I'd love to keep the party going, but it's tough with the kids." That's when Rachel threw out the idea, "Why don't we take this back to my place?" Apparently, it was pretty standard in our neighborhood for families to continue their parties at someone's house. Everyone jumped at the idea with enthusiastic, "Let's do it." And we found ourselves caught up in the excitement. Kenneth was hesitant, asking, "Isn't it getting late?" But our little guy was already nodding off and would probably sleep in the car. Plus, we figured we could always duck out early if needed, so we decided to join in. "Come on, it's more fun with everyone together," I convinced Kenneth, and he gave in with an "all right, why not?" The kids were in various states, some barely keeping their eyes open, others still bouncing off the walls. We moms carried our sleepy ones while the dads gave piggyback rides to the energetic bunch as we made our way to Rachel's place. Rachel's house turned out to be way bigger than we expected. The living room could easily fit over 10 adults, and there was a perfect room upstairs for the kids to crush. By 8 p.m., with all the little ones tucked in, the grown-ups party kicked into gear. The coffee table was loaded with drinks and munchies, and everyone was really starting to let loose. With just adults around, the conversation took a different turn. Usually, we stuck to kids' stuff and school gossip, but tonight, something was different. We started getting into more personal territory about married life and daily struggles. It felt refreshing for Kenneth and me to have real, honest conversations with other couples after so long. As the kids fell into deeper sleep upstairs, we dimmed the lights and got cozy on sofas and floor cushions, drinking and chatting. While some couples had their own conversations going, there was this warm, comfortable vibe in the room. That's when one of the dads suggested, half joking, "I'd love to have some deeper conversations with you ladies too. Like about what goes on behind closed doors." One of the moms playfully shot back, "Ooh, getting personal. Could be interesting." I tried to laugh it off at first, but weirdly, everyone seemed to get a little excited. The conversation started flowing more freely. Honestly, we barely get any action these days. Maybe once a week for us? We've totally lost our passion until someone jokingly suggested, "Hey, why don't we swap partners?" The mood shifted instantly. At first, everyone tried to laugh it off like, "That only happens in movies," but somehow, you could tell some people were actually considering it. "That might be possible," I whispered with a slight nod, my heart pounding with mixed feelings of fear and excitement, like I was about to cross a line I never thought I would. I tried playing it off as a joke at first, but I noticed how the other moms' expressions had changed, their eyes carrying an intensity I'd never seen before. Even more surprising, the usually straight-laced dads seemed to be showing subtle interest. As the mood shifted from playful to serious, I felt my body trembling, partly from nerves, partly from the thrill of knowing this wild fantasy might actually become real. Upstairs in the guest room, we could hear the peaceful breathing of our sleeping children, while downstairs, the living room had transformed into an intimate adult sanctuary, bathed in soft light and the sweet aroma of wine. I glanced at Kenneth, who was trying to brush it off with an awkward smile, saying, "Isn't this a bit much?" But when one of the other husbands raised his wine glass and suggested, "Why just talk about it? Let's give it a shot, just for tonight." Everything changed in an instant. Right then, I knew this wasn't just idle chat anymore. The tension in the room was electric, like those seconds before a thunderstorm breaks. The excitement in the room was almost tangible now, like the peak moment of a wild party, and maybe it was the wine, but everyone's usual inhibitions were melting away. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it, and I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. The fact that our kids were sleeping innocently just upstairs made everything feel even more forbidden and thrilling. The wine had given us all a dangerous kind of courage, and we were diving deeper into this risque game together. The line between reality and fantasy was getting fuzzy, but one thing was crystal clear: we were all getting caught up in this taboo moment. Then one of the dads spoke up, his voice low and husky. So, should we start pairing up? Should we draw straws? Someone suggested playfully, drawing enthusiastic cheers of, "Yes, let's do it," from the group. Caught up in the electric atmosphere, Kenneth and I found ourselves swept along without protest. With trembling fingers, we wives drew slips of paper with the husbands' names. My heart skipped when I unfolded mine to reveal Ethan, an attractive father in his early 40s. Through furtive glances, I saw that Kenneth had been paired with Sharon, one of the more captivating moms in our group. Common sense screamed at us to stop, but the wine and mounting excitement had clouded my judgment. As someone queued up some sultry jazz on their phone and dimmed the lights further, couples naturally gravitated toward their new partners. The air grew thick with anticipation as people settled onto sofas and plush carpets, closing the distance between them. My pulse racing, I thought, is this really happening? When Ethan sat beside me with a reassuring smile and whispered, "We don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with," I felt my face flush with equal parts embarrassment and desire. Stealing a glance at Kenneth, I watched as he and Sharon moved closer, already deep in intimate conversation. Within moments, the living room transformed into a scene I never imagined possible. These usually buttoned-up parents were starting to undress and explore each other with uninhibited passion. The wine had dissolved our inhibitions completely. When Ethan softly asked, "Shall we get more comfortable?" I found myself nodding, utterly enchanted. As he took me in his arms, my body tensed briefly before melting into the soft cushions of the sofa, his warm lips meeting mine. While a voice in my head questioned if this was right, seeing Kenneth locked in a passionate kiss with Sharon ignited an intoxicating mix of jealousy and desire that had me kissing Ethan back with growing intensity. My heart thundered in my chest as waves of heat coursed through me. All around us, other couples were lost in their own intimate moments, the room filled with soft sighs and the rustle of clothing. This was my first time experiencing such an intimate scene, and I could hardly believe I was sharing these moments with someone new. The forbidden nature of it all only heightened my arousal. Glancing over at Kenneth, I watched as Sharon's gentle touch drew soft moans from him. My heart clenched with jealousy. He's my husband. But at the same time, the unexpected thrill of being with another man sent shivers through my entire body. As the night progressed, I found myself letting go, surrendering to a newfound sense of freedom as everything began to feel strangely natural. The sensual atmosphere only intensified my connection with Ethan as I gave myself over to his strong embrace. When Ethan breathed, "You're incredible," we moved from the couch to the plush carpet, our passion deepening. As I straddled his firm hips, I saw the desire darkening his eyes while I slowly took him in. In that moment, my eyes unconsciously found Kenneth's and our gazes locked. Both our faces flushed as an indescribable excitement coursed through me. This wasn't just jealousy or betrayal, it was an entirely new kind of pleasure, watching each other like this. Surrounded by this symphony of other couples' passionate sounds, I reached heights of ecstasy again and again. The taboo thrill of multiple couples exploring each other in one space made my body respond with an intensity I'd never known, waves of pleasure washing over me beyond description. Even though this kind of thing wasn't supposed to happen between suburban parents, in those moments everything felt perfectly natural and beautiful. We were powerless to stop. As the night wore on, the passionate movements gradually stilled, leaving me utterly spent on the carpet. The other couples lay scattered about, many drifting into light sleep without even bothering to dress. When morning light began filtering through the curtains, reality started creeping back in. As the alcohol's effects faded, it hit us all at once. Did we really just do that? The realization made it hard to catch my breath. While awkward glances were exchanged, there was also an unspoken bond from sharing something so intense together. Since our children were still sleeping soundly in the guest room with the others, we had to hurry to leave. Everyone quickly cleaned up and slipped away without a word. The car ride home was silent. We were both still processing the shocking events. Though we tried to rationalize that we shouldn't feel guilty since everyone had participated so enthusiastically, a nagging doubt still tugged at my heart. The moment we got home, I felt an urgent need to shower, telling Kenneth I'm going to clean up. He just nodded wearily with an okay as he sank into the living room couch. Under the hot water, memories of my passionate encounter with Ethan came rushing back, bringing waves of regret for what I'd done. Yet mixed with the guilt were complicated feelings, as the intense pleasure and excitement still resonated through my body. I found myself deep in thought about how to process this experience and move forward. Staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, it all felt surreal, like a dream. But the lingering sensations throughout my body were unmistakably real. In my mind, memories of those passionate moments with Ethan kept flooding back. I felt conflicted, guilty yet aroused. The hot shower I took to clear my head only intensified yesterday's memories. I could still feel Ethan's ragged breathing, his strong touch, and the warmth he left on my skin. Everything felt as vivid as if it were happening all over again. The sensations wouldn't go away, no matter how much I wished them away. Despite my best efforts to fight the growing desire, I found myself powerless against it. Each drop of water cascading down my skin reminded me of his touch from the night before, and my hands began exploring of their own accord. Every time my fingers found those sensitive spots, the memories became more intense, and I couldn't hold back my soft moans. Even as guilt crashed over me, my body was already too far gone. Pressed against the shower wall, I reached my peak in a wave of intense pleasure, my legs trembling beneath me. As I stepped into the hallway wrapped in my towel, strong arms suddenly encircled me from behind. Though startled at first, I quickly melted into the embrace as I recognized the familiar warmth and scent. It was Kenneth. His body heat radiated through the thin towel, sending my heart racing. Just as I was turning to ask if he wanted to shower, Kenneth let out a deep breath and whispered my name urgently. Emily. His voice trembled with a mix of jealousy, desire, and raw emotion. His eyes were stormy with confusion and possessiveness, and above all, I could see the fear of losing me. Emily, seeing you with another man. His voice shook. It drove me crazy. Before he could say more, Kenneth grabbed my wrist firmly and pulled me to our bedroom. The moment we got inside, he shut the door and pressed me down onto the bed. Though his sudden dominance caught me off guard, I found myself welcoming it. My heart raced seeing this passionate side of him emerge after so long. He claimed my lips in a fierce kiss that took my breath away. It was possessive and intense, marking me as his. His hands roamed my waist and explored deeper as I clung to his broad shoulders, breathing heavily into our kiss. Kenneth's touch was electric, more intense than I'd felt in years. Every caress left trails of fire on my skin, his movements driven by primal jealousy. He held me tight against him, as if afraid I'd slip away. "You're mine, my wife." He growled, his voice husky with need. Something ignited inside me too. Long dormant feelings surged back to life, reminding me of our early days when we couldn't get enough of each other. I pushed my guilt aside, focusing only on my husband who wanted me so desperately. That afternoon, we made love with an intensity we hadn't shared in ages. Our breaths mingled as our hearts beat as one, again and again. We couldn't stop ourselves, reaching peak after peak. Though the afternoon flew by like wildfire and I was drenched in sweat despite my recent shower, every sensation was delicious. That provocative gathering had sparked unexpected changes in our marriage. Kenneth's jealousy deepened our connection in ways I never imagined. He began surprising me with passionate encounters during the day and showed a new assertiveness in bed. I embraced these changes, even though guilt still nagged at me whenever I remembered that night. Yet my body responded instinctively to the memories. While I couldn't say for certain if something like that would happen again, a tiny thrill of anticipation flickered in my heart at the possibility. What I'd initially thought was shameful and wrong had, ironically, strengthened our marriage. I never would have guessed a casual neighborhood get-together could lead to partner swapping that would transform our relationship. Kenneth's possessive jealousy had reignited our bedroom passion, bringing back the heat we'd lost since our honeymoon phase. I wasn't sure if this unusual experience would repeat itself or how the other couples felt about it now. But those intense memories were permanently etched in my mind, and I knew I could never fully return to my old routine. While I played the role of sweet mom when my child came home from kindergarten, I realized the secret could never come out. It would turn our lives upside down. That night had to remain our private secret forever. Yet somehow, this experience had broken us free from our mundane routine and deepened our connection. I didn't know if Kenneth would suggest something so daring again, or if the other couples might plan another secret meetup. The possibility filled me with equal parts anxiety and anticipation. I couldn't know for sure these dramatic changes were positive. But one thing was certain: we had rediscovered our passion and fallen in love all over again.